What's going on, everyone? Welcome back on Block Gems. Today, I want to talk about open editions on NIFTY Gateway. And specifically, I want to touch upon a topic that I have already discussed on this channel, the return on investments on recent open editions that have been dropped on NIFTY Gateway. Basically, I want to try to answer the question of how profitable it is for newcomers to the space to try to flip open editions. If you are not familiar with this topic, I made another video specifically about this subject that I will list above, in the card above, and I definitely encourage you to take a look there. So in short, one of the questions that I wanted to answer was, is it profitable? Does it make sense to buy a broader basket of open editions at random and flip them hours, days, or even weeks later in the perspective, in the hopes of making a return to newcomers to the space? Now, the answer that I provided to that video, within that video, is that, in my opinion, it does not make sense. Specifically because the return on investment that you see is was so small at the time that it would not justify the kind of investment that you would have to do. And you would be better off with other investment opportunities that are in the crypto space. Now, I want to come back on this topic because one interesting subject that is still there to address is, how have these editions performed? So if I look at all the open editions that were listed within the week of March the 14th to March the 22nd, so from Sunday to Sunday, and I want to track their performances, how are they doing in terms of returns for the investors and / speculators? So at the time that I recorded the last video, we looked at the return on investment on March the 23rd. But now, circa 1 week later, how did these same editions perform? In other words, if we look at exactly the same basket of open editions, do we see a return that is much higher, for instance, which would let us say, okay, maybe for the immediate term, that kind of maneuver, that kind of strategy does not make sense. But for a slightly longer time frame, it is fruitful. Or at the very, very minimum, it was fruitful, it was interesting and profitable for that specific week and for that kind of open editions. Now, it turns out that how I calculated this just by looking at the original listing price and the last transaction price. So what I calculated is basically the returns based on the last sale, and I accounted for the fees that you would have to pay for the credit card fees and the service fees, as well as the artist fees, in order to get to the figure that you would put in your pocket, being a flipper, being an investor that wants to turn a profit just by buying from the primary market and reselling on the secondary market to other collectors weeks later or days later. Now, what did I find out? If we go on this Excel sheet, of course, I cannot show you the data, specifically because this would be against the TOS. It's not my data, but I can tell you that I've done the homework for myself, and I have performed an analysis that shows this kind of return. So you're looking at 3.4, 3.5% returns for March the 23rd, And this is something that we have already discussed in the previous video that I mentioned before. However, which kind of returns do we get if we wait for exactly the same broad basket of 58 open editions? What happens if we wait one more week? Well, you are in the negatives, and deep in the negatives. You are looking at almost 16% negative returns. Now, am I saying that investing in open editions is the wrong choice? No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that if you had bought the average open edition in the week between the 14th of March to the 22nd of March, from Sunday to Sunday, the average open edition would leave you today with negative returns. Can we generalize this to open editions in general, to the average open editions on NIFTY Gateway? That's a different question, and it's a hard question to answer. But what I can say is that definitely the month of March did not perform as the month of February and as the month of January. And that many of the people that are just telling you, you know what, just buy a broad basket of open editions and you'll be fine because on average you will see returns, are coming to the space with the mindset of people that have already gotten great returns because they have invested in February, because they have invested in January. And at the time, you indeed would have seen spectacular returns in very small amount of time. But if you need to take away anything from this video, that takeaway is March, the month of March, has not been the month of February in terms of return. It has not been the month of January in terms of price performances on open editions. This takeaway cannot be generalized for other NFTs, such as single editions on, say, Super Rare or Maker's Place. It is, take it for what it is, and I take this with a grain of salt and analyze it in context. Also, what must be said is that the volume that we witnessed throughout the month of March is extreme. We can see here that the increase in sales has been going up at a breakneck speed. Does that mean that also the price is going up at that same speed in terms of price on the secondary market? Well, the graph does not tell us this. It just tells us the volume increase in terms of sales that we have seen on the primary market has been going up and up and up. But it tells us nothing about the average evaluation, the average returns that are in this for the collector. And I wanted to shed a little bit of light on this topic with these videos and basically show you that the myth of buying just a broader basket of open editions is something that today doesn't work anymore. It's a myth. It was true in the past. It was true in January and February. It is not true today, at least not if you want to have a 1 week outlook or a 2 weeks outlook. It just doesn't work that way anymore, unfortunately. Does it mean that 1 year from now you will have negative returns? Well, that I don't know. That nobody knows as of now if the editions that you bought today or that you bought last week or 2 weeks ago will be having exceptional performances 1 year from now. But, as I said, if you need to take away something from this video, take away that this strategy that has been working in the months of February and the months of January on average, today is not as profitable as it was used to be. With that, guys, I am just sharing with you the research that otherwise I will keep for myself. And if you find value in this material, if you find value in these kind of videos, please subscribe to the channel. This would be a great moment to subscribe to the channel and press the like button. Of course, none of this is investment advice, so do your own research and see you in the next video.